What do you do when your favorite band breaks up? Well, if your name is David Bowie, then you write and produce a hit song for them. English rock band Mott the Hoople had called it quits in 1972 after struggling to make any commercial headway. The news came to Bowie a month after he had offered them his then unreleased song, Suffragette City. The band played the demo, felt it did not fit their style, and bassist Pete Watts contacted Bowie to politely decline the offer. Watts told Bowie that the band had broken up. 2 hours later, Bowie contacted Watts and said, "I've written a song for you since we spoke, which could be great." A few days later, Bowie played an acoustic version of the song for Watts on an acoustic guitar I've written here. Seems a bit redundant. Recalling the experience, Watts said, "He hadn't got all the words, but the song just blew me away, especially when he hit the chorus." After Watts' approval, the two moved to a second location where Bowie sat down and played the song for the rest of Mott the Hoople. Lead singer Ian Hunter recalls, "He just played it on an acoustic guitar. I knew straight away it was a hit. There were chills going down my spine. It's only happened to me a few times in my life when you know that this is a biggie." Drummer Dale Griffin said, "We couldn't believe it. In the office at Regent Street, he's strumming it on his guitar and I'm thinking, he wants to give us that? He must be crazy. We broke our necks to say yes. You couldn't fail to see it was a great song." They recorded the song in May 1972 with Bowie producing. The end result was the group's biggest hit, hitting number 3 on the UK singles chart. The album of the same name hit number 21 on the UK albums chart. Ultimately, the Bowie penned single did not save the band from dissolving, but it did give them a couple extra years. And the single itself is remembered as one of the biggest songs of the 70s, earning it a place in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's list of the 500 songs that shaped rock and roll, and the number 166 spot on Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Songs of All Time list. That's right, we're talking Mott the Hoople's All the Young Dudes on Bowie Me. That's right, it's Bowie Me, the only podcast that compares hit songs that involve David Bowie with their cover versions to find out which one kicks like a mule. I'm your host as always, The Snake, joined by my newsy co-host,
Alex Mildenberger.
Alex Mildenberger. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. Coming off of Christmas, you know?
Oh yeah.
Still got some time off work, taking it easy, trying to find structure and meaning in my life.
As soon as you lose the work, it's like, yeah,
what do I do with all this time? And like, I can fill time, but you need time to figure out what goes everywhere. Sometimes more than, a vacation's worth, so.
Exactly. I mean, listen, we could talk all day about how fucked up the work system is, but
yeah,
we're going to try to keep it light.
So we got to talk about young dudes today.
We're going to talk about young dudes. I'll let you know, because I forgot to tell you before, it snowed on Christmas in Vancouver.
Wow. Also in Calgary, but...
Yeah, that's
less of an event.
A lot of dry grass Christmases in Calgary. So,
that's true. I was expecting one, because we had, like, a really, like, warm fall until December, basically.
Right.
I went on an outdoor, like... I know there's still people riding their bikes when it's cold, but those people aren't me. But like I went on an outdoor bike ride on I think it was the 22nd of November. Like it was late in the season. It was very nice. And then the next day it snowed heavily, and it's been cold ever since. But where was I going with this? Yeah, it was what we did have
the white Christmas.
Your white Christmas.
Yeah. I got snow sitting on the ground outside here for maybe the first time in my 2 years. Yeah, I think I've had snow on the ground before, but like it lasted a day and was gone. Like this one's sticking around.
That's a snowmageddon if I've ever heard of one.
Snowmageddon, yeah, we're shutting down the city. It's people don't know what to do with it. But we do know what to do with Bowie Me. That's right, theme months are back, baby, and the most important one, Bowie Me. It's gonna be all Bowie songs, all Bowie month. And so, of course, we're going to do 2 covers, which this qualifies as. It's a little bit of a cheat, but this one's a cover. And
technically, originally recorded by a different artist.
Mm-hmm. But he did produce for them, so he's in the studio, and he is credited with backing vocals on this as well, along with a few other people.
Mm-hmm.
Big number. Alex, tell me about your history with all the young dudes.
It's kind of vague. I think I bought it as a single on iTunes just because, it had some history. I don't remember which version I heard first, but I know I generally know the Mott the Hoople version a little bit better.
Oh, really?
But it was a song that, because, as a Bowie fan, it's a song that came up in things I read. So I knew the story.
Right.
And now I've known the song for a long time. But it's one of those, like, kind of single type songs that, I mean, it's not obviously not on any David Bowie albums, so it wouldn't be as accessible to me.
No, yeah, it is a little hidden. CDs. And I know the Bowie version more than the Mott the Hoople version. Because I think for me it came up in like LimeWire, like...
Right, you had Best of Bowie 1969 to 1970, whatever.
Yeah, it might have come up on that, actually.
Right, so it was on that.
First appearance was like Changes One or whatever, that album he like curated for all of the UK. They got it like mailed to them.
I wrote it down, let me see. Rarest One Bowie.
That's the one.
And then Best of Bowie. But that wasn't until the 90s. But this version was recorded in 1972, or his version. But we'll get to his version later.
We'll get to his version, because it'll be our first cover. But we're going to talk about this one.
All the Young Dudes. All right, All the Young Dudes is a Harry Potter fan fiction detailing the lives of the Marauders throughout their schooling, told by Remus Lupin. Which is the first thing that comes up if you Google All the Young Dudes, or maybe just for me, can't imagine why.
I'm going to test that right now, Alex. Okay, All the Young Dudes. First result, Chapter 1, Miss King Bean 89, archive. Okay, so that must be the one. Audible Canada, we are...
It's 1,799 pages long, 526,000 words.
That is dense.
And there's definitely fucking in it.
Is there also, can you confirm, is there sucking as well?
I suspect there's some sucking as well.
Excellent. Those two do tend to go hand in hand.
I can't confirm that, but it's on AO3.
Okay.
And the description that I read, I don't remember where, not the one I copied and just read out, talked about Remus Lupin discovering his sexuality. So I think there's werewolf sex.
Phenomenal. To just rip us right back to what we're actually here to talk about, Alex, you are offered. David Bowie comes to you, and like Morpheus in the Matrix, he's got a song in each hand. One's Suffragette City, the other is All the Young Dudes. Which do you take?
How would you even choose?
How would you even choose?
That's crazy. That's such a. I mean, it's. I think, just a sign of what David Bowie was putting out at the time, where you can give someone else basically their best song, or I shouldn't say that, I don't know Mott the Hoople that well, but probably their most well-known song.
Commercial hit.
And it not even be like that good a David Bowie song necessarily. Like,
yeah, just to still have other songs in the
It's not like it's far and away better than the rest of his output at the time. It's like just kind of alongside it, right?
Yeah, it's not the greatest Bowie song. It is a great Bowie song, but it's like he has so many others that you can point to and say, well, this is just as good, or if not better.
Yeah, that said, at the time, like, they didn't know Bowie, and he wasn't like a huge deal yet, really. He had some clout. He put out some albums and stuff, but, a decade later, he was obviously much, much bigger, a bigger name. But at the time, he was just some like guy, right? Who was also kind of glammy.
Give or take, probably about as successful as Mott the Hoople.
Yeah.
So just to turn down Suffragette City, which is itself a hit.
Yeah.
And to then receive All the Young Dudes is like the gamble of the century. That pays off.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of funny. Maybe All the Young Dudes was more just like appealed to them more directly, because it sounds like it was more like, not that they didn't like Suffragette City, but it was, we broke it, like, we're not a band anymore, we're done.
Yeah.
And then just hearing All the Young Dudes brought them back together. But
yeah, it kept them together for a couple of years. It's just such a so absurd. And he wrote it in 2 hours. They're like, no, we broke up. He's like, what about now? It's surreal to me. It is a strange, bizarre story. What's even weirder to me, though, is that, and this is my segue into the lyrics, is that apparently this song is part of the Ziggy Stardust universe.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, in that they have like kind of share a concept of this sort of decay and destruction of kind of glam rock as a thing.
I guess loosely, but it was also explicitly, like from the mouth of Bowie, directly associated with Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. So he's got a quote here. It's from an interview with like William S. Burroughs or something, like a famous author. It was published in Rolling Stone. So, and he talks about the Ziggy Stardust story in general, and then narrows down to how all the young dudes is a part of that. He says, the time is 5 years to go before the end of the Earth. It has been announced that the world will end because of lack of natural resources. Ziggy is in a position where all the kids have access to the things they thought they wanted. The older people have lost all touch with reality, and the kids are left on their own to plunder anything. Ziggy was in a rock and roll band, and the kids no longer want rock and roll. There's no electricity to play it. Ziggy's advisors tell him to collect news and sing it because there is no news. So Ziggy does this, and there is terrible news. All the Young Dudes is a song about this news. It is no hymn to the youth as people thought. It is completely the opposite.
So it's the same news.
So yeah, it's like this is how little I actually comprehended the story of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, despite listening to it constantly in my youth and talking about it constantly. Is that
it's a pretty loose concept album, though. Like none of that stuff gets said.
Yeah, no, it's not very explicit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the cult of Ziggy forms around him being like a rock and roll news reporter.
Yeah, I didn't really know that either. That's so strange.
It's very strange to me that you would be like, here's this song that seems to be quite explicitly about this album I'm going to release 2 years from now. And to just kind of like let that one go.
Yeah, it seems really closely related. I guess it's just like what he was thinking about at the time. And I mean, all that said, like it still works in like on its own.
Yeah, I think, and we will talk about that as we dive into these lyrics, but I think you can have it separate and even have it be a sort of hymn to the youth, as people do think. And we will get into that. Before we do, Lou Reed believes this song is a gay anthem, along with some other people. Quote from Lou Reed says, "It's a gay anthem, a rallying call to the young dudes to come out in the streets and show that they were beautiful and gay and proud of it."
It's like, yeah, one of those songs that you can kind of apply to a lot of things.
Yeah, it's a very because it's a song that shaped rock and roll because it is such a piece of glam rock iconography. Like when I think of glam rock, I think of like T-Rex in general, which of course this song name checks, and then like this song as well has about as much value.
Yeah.
So, without further ado. Well, Billy rapped all night about his suicide, how he'd kick it in the head when he was 25. Speed jive. Don't want to stay alive when you're 25.
Where did my lyrics go? Yeah. There's a lot of like people names. They're presumably young dudes.
Yeah, it's
that come up. Billy being
like
the
the
first.
boys are back in town vibe, where I don't know Billy personally, but the song is
one of the
sung
boys.
in such a way that I am meant to understand he's one of the boys or all the young dudes in this case.
Yeah, I mean, the song is so. I guess like there's an apocalyptic part of it. Like he's just talking about dying young, basically.
Which, of course, in the context of Ziggy Stardust is because the world is literally ending in 5 years.
Yeah.
But that also just kind of hangs in the air of both the time this song was produced and even now. There is just a lingering sense of doom on the horizon that is shouldered by, and I'm going to include people of our age, so we're not quite oldies yet. Like we're still in the youth. I mean, we are 3 years above 25 here, almost 4, but
right.
Like
we're still 20-somethings.
There is that sense of like, well, we've hit it. Like this is the end of the good times. There's nothing good ahead.
Yeah.
Might as well kick it in the head, which is Bowie's sort of self-invented way of saying, blow your brains out, end your life.
Yeah,
at
and
25.
like I never questioned that phrasing at all. I'm like, that's probably real.
Yeah, exactly. It's not. It doesn't need explaining as much as I've just explained it. It reads pretty plainly. The only thing that doesn't read plainly is speed jive.
Yeah, they try to explain it, I think, in the notes.
While speed jive stems from jive talk and means to make a long story short. Speed jive could also mean nonsense spouted by someone doing amphetamines. Bowie was well acquainted with this, firsthand and closer. What's closer than firsthand? I guess doing it yourself, isn't that firsthand? All this to say, I don't know. I just kind of took it as glam rock flavor, you know?
Yeah, like it just sounds like a vague slang term of like talking, but also I would if I jive I think means like nonsense.
Yeah.
Am I wrong about that?
Jives, this nonsense. Yeah. So
and like speed is like quickly or a lot of it. Like I don't think there needs to be amphetamines involved. Not that there couldn't be. There certainly could be amphetamines involved.
But and coupling that with how he'd kick it in the head, Bowie's kind of just being like, here's something that will sound eternally hip. Like here's some words that, regardless when it sounds like it's coming from the youth, at least of an era, and that would be the 70s in this case. But it sounds like youth street talk. We're in amongst the crowd of the boys here, the dudes.
And they're using their slang, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that comes in the next line, too. Wendy's stealing clothes from Marks and Sparks.
That's right.
Which is apparently a slang...
for a department store.
Yeah, reference to Marks and Spencer's, which I don't think we have here, but we honestly might. I don't know department stores very well.
It's very British, so I've never seen it in my life. But
it's just like saying McDick's or something like that.
Exactly.
McDonald's, which I don't know how widespread that is either.
It's pretty. I've heard it in a few places, a few different circles.
Anyway,
McDick's, McDee's, it's interesting enough, due to like the BBC's rules on no advertising, even name dropping a department store or any brand in this sense was not allowed on the airwaves. So you'll find in some versions, and I think even the radio edit of the original, it's Wendy's stealing clothes from unlocked cars.
Yeah, that's the line I always knew from the David Bowie version.
Yeah, me too. And so I was like, that's a kind of weird line. But in this, when you hear the original context, you go, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
From a store.
Mm-hmm. And Freddie's got spots. No, although.
Well, I guess it's not that, but like David Bowie was prior to this associated with like the mod movement a bit, where he was involved with it, and they were known for like not stealing, but taking clothes out of dumpsters.
Okay.
I think. Anyway, I don't remember. That's maybe not relevant. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, unlocked skips doesn't work as well. Skip being the generic term for
the
dumpsters.
Generic term for dumpster.
Which is a brand name. But let me tell you this, Alex. Freddie's got spots from ripping off the stars from his face. Funky little boat race.
That's such a funky little boat race. It's such a it makes no sense. I don't know if is rhyming slang a formalized thing? Like, can you just rhyme anything, or are there terms you settle on?
I think there's
got to be, right?
A bit of both.
Like bread, that's rhyming slang, I think, or maybe just dough, like for money.
Yeah. Or like the one they use a lot in Ace Attorney is having a butcher's when you're looking at something.
Oh, that's
right. Butcher's hook. Look. And then you obscure it more by just taking the word butcher's. So yeah, in this one he's talking about his face, his funky little boat race, his
boat
face.
race, which is very, very silly. But yeah, we should just call it a boat. So you can obscure it even more. Also, the stars on the face, very associated with, I guess, both like glam rock, but also like kind of hippies too. Like
right,
stars
and
in
also
your hair.
I would say zits.
Like the stars are zits?
Yeah, because he's got a funky little face. He's got a weird little face because he's scratching at it.
True, I guess you can pick at him.
But yeah, I guess if he's putting glam rock behind him, he's got spots from ripping off the stars from his face because, like, yeah, any adhesive you got on there, you tear that off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there is
a little red.
The loss of glory days is very present in this song, and so the ripping off of stars would align with that, and that imagery would be around at this point because T-Rex is already pretty established. Mark Bolan's been out there being a little weirdo for a bit.
Yes, he has.
See, I didn't even think about that. I was too caught up, I guess, in the genius ones where they're like, oh, he's Freddy's a little junky, and he's got just a pizza face, as it were. He's got little spots and marks, but that makes a lot more sense, tearing off actual stars.
Yeah, and I guess I don't know if stars. Maybe definitely glitter. Put glitter. That's associated with T-Rex. And then the next line, which is very much like generally applicable to all the time. Television Man is crazy, saying we're juvenile delinquent Rex. Yeah,
that's timeless.
That's all news in all time. What the children? They're delinquents. They're
delinquents,
messing everything up.
They're the problem. And then of course the best comeback maybe ever. Oh man, I need TV when I got T-Rex. What? Hell yeah. Fuck TV, I've got glam rock music. Like,
yeah, just listen to some music from the 70s, which of course was the present at the time. But yeah, sarcastic line, because he actually doesn't need TV.
Yeah.
Surprise. TV T-Rex. What is? And again,
this all like holds that colloquial, like, dude off the British streets vibe to it. You feel like one of the young dudes listening to this. It's all very casual, because then he follows it up with, "Oh, brother, you guessed."
Yeah, the slang helps.
I'm a dude, Dad.
I'm a dude. I did not know he said dad there.
Yeah, nor did I.
Guess more slang. I'm a dude, Dad.
And then, yeah, doodad, like like a gizmo, like a whatchamacallit.
Yeah, like a tchotchke.
Yeah, like a tchotchke. And we get to the chorus, baby. I'm gonna read the regular parts, which sung by the backing vocals in the original version, interestingly enough, with ad libs by Ian Hunter. So we get all the young dudes carry the news, Boogaloo dudes carry the news, and then that repeats twice. And then after each time we got, "Hey dudes, where are you? Stand up, come on! I want to hear you. I want to see you. I want to talk to all of you now."
No. Yeah, that's it. Kind of interesting. It gives it a very like live feeling.
Yes,
because it sounds like he's talking to an audience.
Exactly, and he, in fact, later rips apparently like word for word an interaction he had with an audience member for the final verse,
in which he apparently just poured a beer on someone's head. Which, kind of shitty, dude. But I guess
but the guy's
rock
a heckler, so it's
fair enough.
It's a bit of shitty on both ends, but yeah, I was like, I don't know if I'd ever want to pour a beer on somebody. I also don't have pour a beer on somebody money sitting around.
It seems like a lot.
Seems like, I mean, beers were probably cheaper back then, but hey. So yeah, this in the very like literal Ziggy Stardust sense, is that all of these young dudes are spreading the horrendous news which they've heard in a catchy riff or like catchy melody line from Ziggy Stardust. It's very apocalyptic in a way I've never quite seen before.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in a more generalized sense, and of course you talked about the timelessness of the television man blaming the youth. That happens today. It happened yesteryear. It's going to happen in the future. But so all the young dudes in this sense carry the burden of the news because they are sort of the bad subject of it. But also, I believe the children are the future, so the young dudes also create the news and sort of create the future. So they're burdened with both being history's villain, or at least the current day's villain, but also with being the driving force behind what happens next, what is as actual new. So.
Yeah, which is a pretty common feeling. Or... yeah, but also relevant throughout time.
It's kind of timeless. So it's the anthem of, I would say, the burden of youth, of dealing with old news, being hated by the news, and being tasked with the news itself, with having to actually guide the world and be the driving force.
Yeah, taking all the blame and needing to fix all the problems, or feeling like that.
Yeah, or at least feeling like that. So that would be my general take on it, outside of the context of the loose concept of Ziggy Stardust.
But there's more.
But wait, there's more. Verse 2. Now Lucy looks sweet because he dresses like a queen, but he can kick like a mule. It's a real mean team, but we can love. Oh yes, we can love. Tell me about it.
Oh yes. We start to get some like androgyny inserted into the song, which
Classic
is
glam rock.
pretty common in glam rock. Pretty common, particularly in like David Bowie's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And talking about Lucy dressing like a queen, but also I guess having strong legs.
Yeah, and perhaps just some of that male aggression. Like,
True.
it's a real mean team. So he's got the beautiful looks of femininity because he dresses like a queen, but he's also got the rough and tumble masculinity. So truly a real mean team.
Yeah, and then talking about love in a way that is, I'd say, reminiscent of like the hippie movement, where like love was going to save the world.
Yeah. Yeah, even and it's kind of like
it doesn't matter because there's love. We can love each other.
And we can love this guy even if he is a little on the aggressive side. Like, we can love baby. And you're right, because what comes next is, of course, a direct reference to that 60s vibe. My brother's back at home with his Beatles and his Stones. We never got it off on that Revolution stuff. What a drag. Too many snags.
Too many snags. Yes, that, I mean, is probably the most direct reference to this, like, generational, I guess, I want to say generational decay. I don't know if that's the best way of saying it. But yes, this, like, going from this idealism of the 60s where it was like, we're going to overthrow the old power structures and create a more loving world, that just didn't really happen.
Yeah, it never took off.
Because it's really hard, and they lost, basically.
Yeah, there seems to be a real connection between the sort of decay projected here as well as with the sort of decay and the grunge movement of the 90s, right?
Yeah, I think there's a similar idea, definitely coming out of a different place, but yeah, I think you get that in the early 70s in particular a lot.
Mm-hmm. It just says like there was too many snags, too many complications in what was
it's like about as explicit as you can get, just commenting on that situation.
Yeah, and like even just something that says his brother's back at home, so he's not out on the streets with the Beatles, with everybody else, like talking about the news or being part of what is the present. He's stuck at home, sequestered in the past with the Beatles and Stones.
Mm-hmm. Which at the time were still the past, though fairly recent past.
Fairly recent past. Yeah, we're talking about we're kind of hyper focused on a point in history here with this one. It's the turning of a page, really. It's that tight of a time frame. But we move on to now. I've drunk a lot of wine and I'm feeling fine. Got to race some cat to bed. Oh, is that concrete all around or is it in my head?
Yeah, I'm a dude, Dad.
I'm a dude, Dad.
What do you make of that? Sounds like he's just at a party.
Yeah, well, it's when the promise of revolution is gone. What else do you have? The future is decaying.
Right.
You have right now.
Nothing else to do.
I've drunk a lot of wine. I'm feeling fine, and I'm gonna go fuck. And some cat is pretty loose. That could be a dude, a lady, or a literal animal.
Is it racing a cat to bed like competing over like a person? Is that what that means?
I think it's just kind of like cheeky. I think it's just like we're racing each other because we're both so horny. We're running to bed to.
Oh, okay.
I don't think there's any like competition for resources there.
Yeah. We're not quite that apocalyptic yet.
This is kind of the little slice of sunshine you get is the excess of wine and sex in a world where everything else is collapsing. These are our pleasures is pretty base. And he doesn't even portray them as bad, but it's just like until we get to, I guess, the next two lines, is that concrete all around or is it in my head?
Right. Like, that's another kind of apocalyptic image, but also, like, he feels constrained is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, it's trapped.
trapped, surrounded by concrete, but also that's like kind of bunker imagery. Like that's apocalyptic, your
Bunker, prison.
concrete bunkers in the old nuclear apocalypse.
Yeah, and it's also concrete's completely unnatural.
True.
I mean, so it's in the Ziggyverse where natural resources are collapsing. That's all you're going to be left with is like a sort of concrete world. And so yeah, like ultimately, what that sentence is like, are the restrictions I'm feeling real or imagined? Basically, is it my mental state or is it the actual state of the world around me? Which both seem to be pretty bleak.
Right, and it's hard to tell sometimes. It's like, is there anything that can be done? Am I just telling myself I can't do anything because it seems really hard or something like that? Or someone's lying to me, perhaps, about what can be done?
Yeah, and for that to be followed by the affirmation of, yeah, I'm a dude.
I'm a dude.
Like, that is, the life of a dude is, I guess, simple pleasures with horrendous like doom just lingering in your head.
Yeah, that is kind of something that I don't fully understand, is what exactly dude meant in 1971, because I don't think it's the same as the way we use it now.
I did see a song fact about this, and now I will pull it up, but in the meantime I'll tell you that dudes used to just be like wandering farmhands.
Yeah, I think I knew that. Dude ranch, that's a word?
A dude ranch. Well, yeah, and I had an English professor who told me once, he's like, so dudes were reviewed positively because they would come around and help out. He's like, so actually the phrase good dude is redundant. And I was like, fuck yeah.
You're just a dude.
Yeah, you're just a dude. Let's see here. All the young dudes. Dude. According to Songfacts Dictionary, which is apparently a thing, a dude is a fop or dandy who lives in a big city. The word was first used in print in 1870 in Putnam's magazine. So, yeah, it's a city limit.
1870?
Yeah, that seems like a far back reach.
That's only like 100 years before.
Yeah, I suppose so. But yeah, if it just means a guy who lives in the city, that checks out in here in this, where especially with the guy feeling like he's surrounded by concrete.
Yeah, I guess if it's specifically like an urban person living in an urban environment, and we're talking about a world that like is running out of resources, you're sort of one step disconnected from that too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely something I've felt, like being one step disconnected from like everything, the apocalypse, right? It's like it's happening.
Yeah.
And you just can't do anything about it.
Yeah, again, it really defines
part of the powerlessness.
That dread, that powerlessness. Is it concrete all around, or is it in my head? Because that's how disconnected I am from nature. It's heady stuff there, powerful stuff. We get the chorus again, and then we get the outro, which is known as the Rainbow Room Gig verse, or like outro or chorus.
Right.
So apparently, when they were in the studio, David Bowie said there was too much nothing at the end of the track, too much empty space. So then they came up with the idea of what Ian Hunter called the heckler's 10 seconds, during which he could say anything he wanted. He says, I basically repeated all the things I'd said at the Rainbow Bar and Grill on Sunset Strip a couple of days before. I emptied a beer on a lad's head at that gig, but yes, my patter is all taken from the Rainbow gig. And that patter is, hey, you there with the glasses. I want you in the front. Now you're his friends. Now you bring him down because I want him. I want him right here.
I want him right here.
Bring him. Come on, bring him. Here you go. I've wanted to do this for years. There you go. How did it feel?
Yeah, that's a fun part, I think. Like, not even knowing the backstory, because like I said before, it makes it feel live. Mm-hmm. Or closer to a live thing, and because you don't actually you can't see what's happening. There's no video of this. It's just kind of more like, I guess, evocative, because you can fill in the blanks with your mind and just imagine what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I've always kind of done. Just like, well, what is he doing? He's wanted to do it for years.
Yeah.
Could be anything.
Of course, I didn't have that connection with this version. I've only heard the original a few times, so I wasn't able to weave any stories here. But it does have, and it plays into the rest of the song's vibe of being sort of communal, colloquial. It makes you feel like you're in some kind of event, seeing a thing happen.
It's true.
Everybody's having a laugh.
That's true. I feel like you're a part of it. It's more immediate.
Mm-hmm. So that's the song. It's about, it's about a grim future and the sort of effect it has on the youth, really. And when is that song more relevant than every day of all time forever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, no. I mean...
Affirmative.
Affirmative.
The song's a real downer, but it sounds... sounds very anthemic, like people said. Like Dave Bowie's like, it's not an anthem for the youth, but by God, it sure sounds like one, if not a somber one.
It's doing a good job of pretending to be one, if that's not what it is.
Mm-hmm. So it opens with, of course, this very like iconic guitar lick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got that little bend in there. That's always nice to hear.
Always nice. And it sort of sets up this pattern, which is where we get the somber natures from sort of a lot of descending riff goes on in this piece.
That is true. There's a lot of downward motion.
A lot of downward motion, which is usually at the end of phrases, countered by a sort of upward climb.
Into the next bit.
That's kind of the general riff of it. We, of course, get an organ in this version, which does some long sustains. We get an acoustic guitar for the rhythm, and like a bit of electric guitar in and around when it feels like.
Yeah, it's kind of like a heavier guitar. It's lower, just like that'll play a few chords sometimes, particularly between sections. Down, 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 doing that kind of walk back up you mentioned.
Yes. And then, yeah, so your verses are pretty stripped down for the most part, which me, of course, coming from the Bowie version, was like, oh, this is a little different. But you do get to hear, particularly when he goes to the line speed jive, so around like 15 seconds in.
Mm-hmm. When you're 25.
Or 18 seconds. You can hear the guitar rhythm change quite clearly, and that rhythm bit is pulled into later versions of it, including the David Bowie version. This dun 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 boom 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 boom.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of your halfway point.
Yeah, it kind of comes at the end of, because each verse is kind of two discrete sections.
Yeah, possibly more.
Yeah.
Which I say because there's kind of like up to Don't Want to Stay Alive When You're 25, and then up until the end of Funky Little Boat Race. And then once you I think I would consider Television Man Is Crazy and onwards to be pre-chorus.
Yes, I would consider that to be the same.
Cool. Glad we're in agreement, because it does change, more notably in other versions, but it does change. Stays pretty consistent there. There's like is there some piano? Or am I looking at a different version? No, that's in the chorus. I'm in the chorus.
Yeah.
You in the chorus?
Not quite.
Can we talk about the chorus?
Because what we talk about on that pre-chorus, because we should talk about how it's instrumentally different.
We should. You're right, we should.
Backing vocals, for one, jump in. Pretty low.
True.
Just
a little bit. The rhythm kind of... Does it... Oh, I forgot to write down if it's slowed down or picked up.
It's louder. So you hear the acoustic guitar a little more. It's a little thinner on the verses. So when we come to that pre-chorus, things build up. And then, of course, as we get to the end of the pre-chorus, we get guitar, look at that electric guitar blaring in.
True, because it kind of plays between sections. And the organ does a cool, like, little gliss into the chorus. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, the chorus is where you get that pulsing piano, that dun 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 bum 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 bum.
Yes, which I would call poppy now. I don't think it was considered that at the time, though.
Yeah.
Like kind of pop chords. Da, da, da,
yeah, it's definitely a pop staple these days.
Quarter beats or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, like I mentioned when we were talking about the lyrics, it's all backing vocals doing the chorus. Hey, dudes! And then you get Ian Hunter just shouting out, whatever ad lib he has on
line
hand.
sounds like he's talking directly to an audience.
Yeah, which really contributes to that live feel.
Yeah, and in addition, like the way the chorus is done, it's very like, I don't know, you're waving your arms or maybe even a lighter,
Or, of course, hand clapping.
Or hand clapping. It just feels like a join in part.
Yeah. So worth mentioning the credits for the hand claps here. We have Nicky Graham, who I think later goes on to be the keyboardist for Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. And Stewie George, who was a security guard at the Olympic Studios.
She got joining in.
Yeah,
right
so that's
on.
You want to talk about it. This song has got dudes in it right down to the DNA of how it was made.
This is a song of the people. It's a folk anthem.
It's a folk anthem for non-folk people, for the city.
For the folks.
For the folks.
The city folks.
City folks. City slickers. But yeah, it's a pretty, like, the vocals really carry the chorus.
The news, if you will.
The news. Because otherwise, like, the backing instrumental's pretty steady. We just got the steady piano rhythm, a bit of guitar chords. And, of course, that same sort of, like, climb up at the end of each repetition of the chorus. That boom, ba-bam, down, down.
And then the question is, I guess, what changes?
Technically, the second verse is, like, a little stripped down in the first half.
Compared to before?
Yeah, if you could believe that.
I don't believe it.
It's hard to believe because there's so little in the first verse.
Yeah. It's just a little bit.
Yeah, it's maybe just played a little softer. But there's also
which is
no
unusual
organ
for a second verse.
Yeah, because once we get to the Beatles and Stones, the organs come back in full effect. So, like, yeah, it's played a little softer. We lose that supporting organ, which fills out a lot of space. And then it comes back for the Beatles and Stones.
See, I think it might just be that, like, the lead-in has a longer sustain in the first verse. Because, like, the organ doesn't really stick around for that first part.
No.
Anyway.
I guess you're right. The organ's not right. So it is the same.
It's very, very, very similar.
Very much the same.
Yeah. And yeah, it does that stuff again. Like it's not that complex in terms of instrumentation, that's for sure. But it's got, big chorus, which David Bowie writes some pretty big choruses.
Yeah. And you want to talk about, again, Anthems for the Youth, which Bowie says this is not, but, like, this is very easy. Once you've heard the first verse and chorus, you know the rest of the song.
Yeah, you can sing along, at least with the chorus.
Yeah, I mean, you know at least the melody rhythm of the second verse.
Or whatever.
Yeah, Sorry, was that not good enough for you, Alex? Or whatever?
I don't know, man.
You tired, Alex? Sleepy boy?
I'm a little sleepy.
Okay. Well,
the ability to sleep in does not, or the opportunity to sleep in
does not
translate to the ability to sleep in, unfortunately.
God, dude, I hear ya. I'm probably not getting up as early as you, but still, like, I get it.
Especially when it's cold outside.
Oh, yeah. Shit. Wish I could help you there, Alex. But I got nothing for it. Open your eyes wide. You'll be a little more awake.
All right. I'm a little more awake now.
They say that works. It's like tricking the brain. Like, if you smile, eventually you'll think you're happy.
I'm smiling, and my eyes are wide open.
All right, so let's try this again. Did you like it that time?
Beautiful. That was a thing of beauty.
Thank you. All right, I was going to call you a piece of shit, but you're being kind to me now. We're going to push back. All this to say, what we're really trying to say with all of my poor vocal performance and this bit of sidetracking, the song's pretty consistent once you set up the pieces.
Yeah, it's good for singing along to.
Yeah, like dominoes, baby.
It's good for being a young dude too.
Flick off the first one, you can see the path it's going down. You can predict it.
Knock them down.
Because yeah, after that, like we get to the chorus again, it's the same shit. him doing the ad libs again, and then we get the outro one where
And the outro for quite a while.
Yeah, it's a long outro because this is your lighter song. This is your hand clap song. This is what it is.
And then he can, if it's live, I'm sure he says other things there.
Oh yeah, for sure he
Like
would.
you can put whatever you want in there.
Exactly. Do you think he would pour a beer on somebody every show for this song?
That would, I mean...
Everybody's wearing glasses because they want to be the guy.
Yeah, in the front row, you got to put garbage bags on if you...
It's the splash zone.
It's not like it would be prohibitively expensive, right? Like,
No, it'd be a pretty
you
cheap
could
trick.
feasibly do that. It's just one beer a show, although people might not appreciate it. But maybe after a while, like if it becomes a thing, if people would want it. It's like there was... I mean, it's not exactly like... Well, like we referenced the... What is it? The... is there a musical? The Evil Dead musical where you get covered in blood?
Yes, because I've been to that. And yeah, if you're in the front rows, you will get
splash zone.
splattered.
Splattered in blood. And sometimes audiences just like some little... You know, there was a guy who got peed on recently. That was fairly recent.
At a show?
Yeah, it was like some band and the lead singer, she was like talking about how she had to pee, and then a guy came up on stage and she peed on him.
Oh yeah, I loosely recall this.
He seemed to be quite into it, which is nice.
It'd be weird to get up there when you weren't into the idea. Like,
Yeah.
all your friends like, you gotta go let her piss on you. You're like, I don't want to.
I'm just not into it. I don't know,
It's
man.
not my thing. And then people throw you up on stage. Like,
No, man.
"Ah,
Are you his
fuck.
friends? I want him right here.
I want him right here.
No, please. Oh, man.
I've always wanted to do this. A little more grim there.
Yeah, so probably more likely to get a volunteer for getting a beer poured on them. But I've told this story before. There was a guy who I worked with at the Stampede who was pretty proud of getting punched in a mosh pit. So, like, you know, things happen at concerts.
Things happen in mosh pits. I got my head knocked on I think it was my 26th birthday at a mosh pit. I was like, fuck, this is not enjoyable.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't like getting hit in the head.
No, the
Or,
joy of a
for
mosh
example,
pit is like
losing an earplug.
pushed around a little bit, but yeah, don't lose an earplug or get punched down. Like,
And occasionally getting crushed against the stage
yeah, that's
and shouting along with the lead singer or whatever, you know, that kind of thing.
gently crushed. There's of course been in the recent news.
Oh yes, this is loving crush.
Loving
crushing.
crush.
This
You know, we all got to be
this isn't
responsible
harmful.
on the concert floors, and it doesn't look like any of us are going to be out to a concert moshing anytime fucking soon. But stay safe out there when you do it,
Yeah.
people.
Stay safe. And speaking of staying safe, it's probably time to talk about David Bowie.
All the young dudes can
Yeah,
Because
very
we haven't
safe
talked
cover.
about David Bowie yet.
This version blows ass. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, let's talk about David Bowie. There's a lot of interesting things that happen in this transition to the
Yeah.
Bowie version. The first major benefit being, of course, Bowie vocals and a Bowie backing band, which is like, it's Bowie's band. They're very
Yeah,
good.
it's the Spiders from Mars.
It's the Spiders from Mars, because this was recorded in
some version of it.
1972.
I guess also perhaps worth noting, the version that I do know of this is about a minute longer. It's off of that Best of Bowie album, and it's, I think, in mono. So my understanding of the timeline of this is he recorded this version in 1972, but it wasn't released till like 1995 in that
Yes.
chain rarest one Bowie,
That's right.
which kind of looks like Rare Stone Bowie because it's all written as one word. And then later in Best of Bowie, just a couple years later. And then this version is actually a stereo version released with Nothing Has Changed in like, when did this come out? This was like 2015 maybe?
Yeah.
2014. And this is in stereo. So when I first heard it, I was like, oh, this sounds so much better because it's been like cleaned up a bit too, I think,
Yeah, for sure.
compared to the version that I know a little better.
That is an observation, Alex, and of that I will say, good on ya. I didn't really notice, but I'm also an idiot. I just noticed that this song fucking rocks.
Yeah, I think my version might be like a pirated version too of the original or of the older version, the mono one.
Yeah, highly likely.
So I think it might just be lower quality, like like early MP3 sort of thing. That's
So-
also been degraded through LimeWire, or I don't know if LimeWire would actually degrade it. I don't think so, but someone did something to it.
Yeah, it's been passed around a few times and
Yeah.
processed and turned to shit. Now, I want to ask
Exactly.
you this, Alex. You're familiar with the song Move On from the 1979 album Lodger?
Oh hell yeah!
So apparently, I'm going to read this quote verbatim because it's a variant of this version combining Bowie's vocals on the verses with Ian Hunter's on the chorus was released on the 2006 reissue of All the Young Dudes. Bowie also used the music in reverse as the basis for Move On.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I didn't either. I forgot to listen to Move On this week, but that's...
Sometimes I feel I need to move on, so I pack a bag and move on.
Fuck yeah.
And move on.
I thought David Bowie was dead, but it turns out he's in the studio.
So he's
with
in the
us.
studio. Wow.
Hell yes.
Singing some late 70s Bowie.
Way to go. And he's gone. See you, David Bowie.
Oh, yeah.
Goodbye.
It's been fun. Thanks for popping in.
Thanks for having me on your show.
I had no idea. So wait, you're saying what in reverse was
The
used?
instrumental track of, I think, this variant version, which combines Bowie's and Ian Hunter's vocals. That is my understanding of what I've read here. And it says it uses the reverse as the basis. So I don't think he simply played it in reverse and then
Just
sang
like
over it.
Switched and was like, hey, we should play this.
Yeah, we should use this reverse progression, basically.
Interesting.
Interesting. So right off the bat here, things to note. No organ on this. We get a piano instead. We get a much bigger guitar, big,
Yeah,
full,
I mean, this
gritty
is the
tone.
Spiders from Mars. If you know
is
the
the
Spiders from Mars, they sound like the Spiders from Mars. There's that piano. There's, Mick. I keep accidentally saying Mark Ronson.
No, it's
Mick
Mick Ronson.
Ronson on the guitar. Doing, screeching the. It's. I've heard it described as sleazy guitar. I don't know exactly what that means, but I did hear that once.
Well, yeah, I
basically that era of guitar playing.
You think of it in context of, and of course, Mick Ronson plays throughout the Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars album. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of songs in there that have a bit of grease, a little slink, a little sleaziness to them. So for me, it's a situation I don't know which came first. Like the album's vibe created the tone, or the tone created the vibe. But
Right.
yeah, I can see where they're getting sleazy from on there.
Yeah, but I mean, he's right there, and that's definitely a part of this. That's part of the sound. Saxophone.
Yes, instead of backing vocals, or rather, instead of the vocal ad libs, really.
And I mean, yeah, the guitar has a bit like different sound. It doesn't feel as heavy to me as compared to the Mott the Hoople version. Not the Mott the Hoople version was like crazy heavy, but I wouldn't say it feels light either. Like the guitar is still fairly distorted, but it's like in a higher way that doesn't have the lower end as much. Does that make
it's definitely
sense?
focusing on the treble rather than your bass. I'll agree to that.
Yeah. All right. It's hard to
And
describe
so
sounds
instead
sometimes.
of actually, we do still get the acoustic rhythm on this, but we also get these guitar arpeggios on the electric. Boom, boom, down, 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 boom, 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 which really adds to the sort of, somebody online or is in the Wikipedia article described this song as dirge-like, which is of course just a somber song typically for like deaths and funerals. There's no actual, as far as I can see, like denoted structure of a dirge. It's just
and I mean it's slower. I don't know exactly what like a dirge would sound like, but to me the original is got a little more of the like worship aspect just because of the organ.
Yes, for sure.
Compared to this one, where this one feels more dirty.
Yeah, this one is not in the church. This one's on the streets, baby.
Yeah. I also think this version has more tension.
Yeah.
Like particularly when they get to the pre-chorus here, there's much more distinction there, and like the drums go double time. And so you feel more tense in that before
That's right.
the pretty significant like tension release the chorus.
The chorus, yeah. I would say the instruments on this, you mentioned the drums, the bass as well. The bass is working on this song, and particularly in the pre-chorus
That's
and
true.
chorus.
That's true. Is Woody Woodmansey the bassist?
I forgot to check the personnel for this, but that sounds correct to me. And who doesn't love a name like that?
Checking my Spiders from Mars. You know what? Don't worry about it.
I won't. Well, I'll tell you this. Along with Tension, I think this song, and part of it is, of course, David Bowie's more theatrical singing style on this, I would say. Whereas Mott the Hoople comes off as classic glam rock, which is perfect.
Sorry, Trevor Bolder is the bassist.
Trevor Bolder.
Woody Woodmansey is drummer.
Sure.
In Spiders from Mars.
So, whereas like the original's got the glam rock vibe down pat, this is the David Bowie, like a bit of talk singing almost, and he really
True.
he chops up some of the stuff here to make a little more gravitas. We remove the phrase speed jive, to just give us space, to give us empty. So we don't want to stay alive when you're 25 is after a pause. I would kick it in the head when he was 25. Don't want to stay alive. So instead of the speed jive, which is a little jarring, a little confusing, honestly, and
True, probably the least sensible turn of phrase.
yeah, of all the ones in here, it's the one that is most likely to make you.
Boogaloo Dudes, maybe. Anyway,
The Boogaloo Dude sounds of the era, and it's in the chorus too, where you're just kind of singing along anyway.
But what does it mean?
It just means hip guys.
Hip guys.
All the young dudes, these are hip Boogaloo dudes. You know, they know they got a dance, they got a rhythm.
Fair enough.
They're the youth.
Fair enough.
That's my read anyway. But yeah, so we get through this instrumentally richer verse, because we do have that guitar arpeggio. We get some wails from Mick Ronson in the back there, and then yeah, we hit that pre-chorus, and the build-up is just much heavier. Drums are going, that guitar is giving us a little more oomph, and that bass is just running.
True, the bass is much more noticeable.
That's right. And then boom, I'm a dude, and then we get these fucking saxophones in here.
We certainly do. Yeah. Saxophones come in, and then none of the like ad-libbing stuff. I think we mentioned that already.
That's correct.
Just the anthemic chorus.
Mm-hmm. With these, and I would say those saxophones have a bit of that sleaze quality to them as well.
Yeah, there's kind of like a general wail to this version that I if I'm comparing them and I wanted to compare the mood, I would say that while they're both about more or less the same thing, this one is more like tragic and almost melodramatic in some ways, whereas the original is more like resigned to their fate. That's one way I would think of the difference between the two.
Yeah, I would say so.
It's a real wail.
Yeah. All the young dudes. And of course, there is backing vocals on that still. They're doing the same lines, the melody lines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what a kick in chorus, though. It feels bigger, because whereas the first one mimics a live setting, this one does not. So you get that studio bigness that you can put in there. And I think that makes the chorus, for me, hit a lot harder.
The saxophone definitely helps.
Yeah, that helps.
There was a live version I saw on YouTube that is. It's like Queen. I think the tribute
Queen,
concert.
Ian Hunter, and David Bowie. Yeah,
that's the one. It was like the tribute for Freddie Mercury after Freddie Mercury died, I think. And
I think that's right.
Yeah, it was Queen, and Mick Ronson came out, and Ian Hunter sang, and David Bowie mostly played the saxophone and like did backup vocals.
Fuck yeah.
It's pretty cool.
That is very cool. Yeah, so the next big thing is just, again, this is Bowie theatric delivery. The next big note I have is the Brother Back at Home with the Beatles and the Stones. You want to talk about it sounding sadder in this version. That's the moment.
The delivery on that line.
My heart breaks when I find out his brother's at home listening to the Beatles and Stones. Like,
yeah, which is like, wait a minute, I do that.
Yeah, it's like, hang on. Am I his brother? What a drag. And then you of course, get that sleaze again on What a Drag, Too Many Snags. It's I mean, the vocals, and we'll find this in some other versions too, carry a lot of the performance in this, and it is hard to go toe-to-toe with David Bowie.
Just, yeah, as a general rule.
As a general rule, I think he just knocks this one out of the park.
Mm-hmm. I think he had a lot to prove at the time, too, so...
Yeah, I think he may be
Not
right.
that he, like, slacked off later, but...
Of course, but he also pours all it into this, and this is like, yeah, well, maybe I'll release this 24 years later, 23
That's
years later.
true. Yeah, I guess we just won't release it until it's like... Because I'm pretty sure that the actual release it was first came out on was like not really authorized by him. That was my understanding.
Okay.
It's just like someone kind of owned the recordings and put it out. Because it hasn't been reissued.
No, fair enough.
Anyway, I don't know.
Otherwise, I mean, it's similar to the last one. Once we set up what's happening, it happens again.
It happens again. Yeah.
Fade out on the chorus. He obviously doesn't do the Rainbow Room gig stuff, so it's just the chorus.
Yeah, repeated with the saxophone. Of course.
Mm-hmm. So, and I think that's interesting because it was Bowie who pushed for the ad-lib.
For putting something there.
Yeah.
And maybe that's one of the reasons this never was released. He's like, I don't know what to put in that's different or something.
Right, because he's like, obviously I can't pretend to be Ian Hunter. Because Bowie, as we talked about in his covers, he does his homework. He doesn't do ad-libs that other people do just because that's part of the original recording. Like he's here to make his own version of this.
Yeah, he certainly would not. And it would be weird if he tried to, I think. It would be very strange.
But yeah, that's the Bowie version, which, I mean, and I might just have the bias of this being the one I'm exposed to, but it's pretty definitive for me. It's David Bowie doing a David Bowie song that maybe he should have done all along because it was apparently a pretty integral part of the Ziggy Stardust story.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Mott the Hoople version. I've probably heard that the most, just
I
because
like that version too.
I don't
It's
know
very good.
why, but at some point in the past, I decided that would be my primary version. Back when it mattered.
I think a lot of people agree with you, Alex. I think
And
it is the
and
more well-known version.
I do think, like, in terms of like they both have their own sort of personality, and I really do like the spoken word stuff at the end in particular, or the ad lib stuff.
Yeah, it's a good vibe. Another good vibe comes to us in the form of Jimmy Barnes in the year 2000.
Jimmy. Barnes.
Now,
Jimmy
Alex,
Barnes.
do you remember?
Yes,
you know,
I
over
remember
3
Cold
years
Chisel.
ago, Cold Chisel. Yeah, one of the first
Australian
bands we ever
rock and roll
talked about on the show, an Australian rock.
Yeah,
band
was
who
that
did
Wild? They did a version of Wild Thing?
That's right, a 9-minute version of Wild
Yeah,
Thing.
that was live. Yeah, I do remember that actually.
Yeah. So Jimmy Barnes is the Scottish Australian lead vocalist for Cold Chisel, who also does soul music,
Which
like
is
R&B.
kind of what this is.
Yes. It's exactly what this is.
This is, yeah. I mean, the way he sings in particular, but there's also like prominent saxophone. Not saxophone in the same way as the David Bowie version.
No, it's much more.
What's
less
the
sleazy.
word? Yeah.
You take out the sleeves. There's no grease in it. It's very.
Yeah, it feels like a horn section. You know, there's lots of
Yes.
layers of horns.
Mm-hmm.
But there's it kind of similar to the other versions in that it starts big. There's lots of horns, and then it sort of cuts down for the rest. And it also does have an organ.
That's right. We bring the organ back for those big fills. Of course, the most important thing here is that it seems really Otis Redding inspired, who we've talked about before. Not only does it sound like Jimmy Barnes is trying to impersonate Otis Redding, but his sort of like freestyling on this, so many of the lyrics are altered that it's almost a completely different song.
But it's like almost insignificant words too.
Yeah, it's like an alternate reality version.
Mixes the names up, possibly just because like he doesn't care that much about which name is which.
Yeah,
Like I think Lucy does a few things.
Lucy is the weirdest one in terms of alterations because he, I think, misses the point of who Lucy is.
Probably wouldn't be a difficult thing to mess up.
Well, let's see here. The lyrics for that are, I don't even think he says Lucy. I believe he says looking so sweet.
Oh, maybe. I
says,
thought
"Look-"
that there was an earlier one where he said Lucy instead of like.
Oh, instead of
Freddie
like
or
Wendy
something,
or
like-
Freddie or whoever.
Yeah.
You may be right
I don't
there.
remember now though. I didn't
But
write it down.
in that second verse, he says, looking so sweet, but dresses like a queen. She can kick like a mule. It's a real mean team. Oh, we can love. I love her. So he has not keyed into the fact that Lucy is not... is at least presumably a cross-dressing man in the original.
Yeah, or perhaps some version of non-binary.
Exactly.
Whatever words they would have used in the early 70s.
But he has just portrayed it, Lucy as a good-looking woman who can kick really hard.
And that he loves.
He loves her.
Yeah. I guess it's like what's the point of that?
Yeah, because it completely defeats the "it's a real mean team" line. You lose all the weight of that, because...
Yeah. But although, again, on this one, a lot of the, I guess, heavy lifting goes to the vocals.
Which, yeah, he sings the hell out of in his
He
defense.
does. He goes real hard. It's like, it's very gruff and like really, would you say powerful?
Yeah, oh,
Yeah.
he fucking gives her.
He goes. There's a lot of like, he chews up a lot of those lines. Sometimes,
You're
in
right,
terms
Lucy
of meaning.
is Wendy in this.
Yeah.
And if you go to that, like, at around the... Lucy's stealing clothes! Like, he fucking gives her.
Yeah. So he goes really hard on those.
Yeah.
And he throws in some of the ad-lib stuff too.
Yeah. He's got some
But it's a very different style of song, and like you said, some of it just kind of doesn't make sense because he doesn't. Seems like the actual words he's saying are sort of not the first thing he's worried about.
Yeah, so he says zits on her face from licking up stars? And then he calls her a little golden race?
Yeah, I don't know if that means anything.
The one thing I think he does well is he does the... Man, I don't need TV. He like rephrases it to be more clear that he does not need TV.
Right, he drops the like sarcastic part.
Yeah, he says, when I got T-Rex.
Oh, brother. You guessed. He says it like that. He doesn't say it like that. Yeah. Hang on, I need water. You don't need to hang on.
Like, so what this version really has in it is you've got your kind of soul composition. It does some of the same tricks. We get a little bit of build with the horn drone on the pre-chorus. There's a bit of guitar in there too. We get a lot of the organ stuff from the original. Really, it is about his vocal performance, and what that thing provides is one, energy. It's heaps of energy on this. It carries the whole piece really. And two,
Yeah.
his vocal improvisations, or he says like, "Hey child" or something. Hey child, you don't want to be alive. Like he carries that colloquialism into the soul genre. So it
Throwing
still
some
feels
little,
like it's
little bits here and there.
like it's very personal. It's on the streets. We're together in this. So
Yeah,
I'd
some
say-
of his like "I Want to Hear You" and "Hey Yous" and which
Yeah.
is really taken from the original, but kind of interwoven in like a slightly different way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then later on, he really goes into some like screamy bits, which I think is a little more cold chisel, a little more rock and roll. But yeah, he's going. So he
Yeah.
sells it, even though it kind of doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. He's got so much like charisma and so much power in those vocals that you're along for the ride regardless.
You can believe it, but just don't think about it too hard.
Yeah, he's not going to race a cat to bed. He's going to wreck this town tonight. Which, yeah, it doesn't change things too much. He's just...
No.
Once he's caught and going, what are you going to do? Stop him? Like, hey, we got to
Yeah.
take that line again. Like, you can't.
Yeah, it's another one that like kind of sounds like he just knew the song from the radio.
Yeah.
Like he heard it and was like, all right, these are the words I think probably.
Yeah, which, I mean, the year was 2000, so there's no excuse for him to be doing that shit.
No, not really. But I don't know, maybe he doesn't know about the internet.
Yeah, maybe.
Didn't know about the internet.
And yeah, overall, I thought this version fucking ripped. I thought it was very cool.
Yeah, it sounds very cool. That's for sure.
Anything else on this one, Alex?
No, not really.
Let's talk about the inverse of this version, Faye Cullen, 2002.
I'ma do now? All the young dudes.
Faye Cullen. Faye. Yeah, there's
I
not a whole lot
Cullen.
on this group or person.
Person. The UK
Group slash
jazz
person.
pop singer I got from
Yeah,
Discogs.
a vocal fronted jazz trio is what I saw.
Okay, so maybe there are multiple people.
It seems to be at least 3 people, possibly 4.
Well, that would be a jazz quad.
I know, but like, is it a jazz trio plus a singer, or
Plus
is
a
it,
singer? Okay, and she's
or is
not
it a jazz trio
so-
including a singer? It wasn't clear to me. Anyway,
Well, would you get strings, drums, and bass? Yeah, so unless she's doing one of those things and singing.
yeah, I guess it's possible you could do both. They have like 2 albums from 2008, and that's all. So they have actually a cover of Just a Gigolo.
Oh.
They have a cover of Thick as a Brick.
Oh. A
Yeah,
45-minute cover, so...
45-minute cover. Fortunately, it's not the whole thing, because it's quite stretched out, because they play it fairly slow.
Right, be an hour and a
So
half.
their
for that.
cover, Thick as a Brick, would be an hour and a half. But yeah, that's kind of what this is, a soft jazzy version that's fairly slow.
Yeah. So you get these big elongated intro. Dun, dun, ba-da-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-boom. Boom, boom.
Yeah, with piano chords and diddle, some strings.
Yeah. So we get the softness, and I'll tell you this: I feel like softness can work in this song because we talked. It's a bit of a
Yeah.
sad song. But what really set me off right off the bat was her past tense on he kicked it in the head when he was 25. She's saying that he's bragging all night about his suicide, how he fucking killed himself when he was 25, but how is he bragging about it then?
But how is that possible? Yeah, misreading of the lyrics, kind of.
Yeah, and I can't crucify her for that the same way I can't crucify Jimmy Barnes for all of his nut shit. But at least Jimmy Barnes had me going the whole time.
Yeah. This one wasn't super into it, I'll admit. Particularly the bass solo, which we'll talk about later. But one thing I thought was kind of interesting about it is it sort of sounds like a Christmas song.
Yeah.
Like
it's
a little
Christmas
bit,
jazz.
and it's Christmas time, so that was fascinating. But the other thing, I think one of the reasons it sounds Christmassy is it sounds a little nostalgic. So that is probably the one thing they did correctly, and possibly also led to some mistakes, like you said, with the past tense thing, because it does sound like what they're trying to get out of the original is a feeling of nostalgia to something that was like just happened, or I guess the original is a bit nostalgic for better times,
Right.
like most apocalyptic literature kind of has baked into it.
Yeah.
So I think they're pushing the nostalgia aspect of it, which I think is kind of smart. I don't know if this is the best way to do it, though.
Yeah, because what every other version has had so far, sure, the nostalgia's baked in, but it also has the bite, the edge, the little bit of, that twist of the knife that is the apocalypse.
Right.
Like even Jimmy Barnes, that's why he's singing so hard some of the times, is because we're getting the pain out. Whereas this
Yeah.
one, like you
he's
said, it
replacing
sounds
the
like,
wailing guitars with just like his voice.
literal wailing. And so with Fee Cullen here, Fecklin, what do you get? You get Christmas jazz. You're right. This is jazz that's been sanded down to play in the background. And so the nostalgia's there. She sounds like she's nostalgic. But where is the hook? Where is something to make us feel the pain? It's all the good parts of nostalgia without the pain.
Yeah, until you get to the bass solo.
Well, yeah, that's a bit painful. So yeah, of course, it's jazz, so what can you expect? And this is the thing. Here's the part that I don't like about the solo section in general, is you take away from us a chorus, which is really the hat to hang for this song. That's the
Yeah,
selling
that's the anthemic part, right?
Mm-hmm. So she gives us the "I'm a dude," and you're like, all right, give me that dopamine hit, give me that chorus, and she says, how about instead I give you a piano solo, which is serviceable, but it's not the chorus.
It's true.
I would have taken it after a chorus happily, solo around, and then come back, do it as a middle eight, what have you. But you took a chorus away to replace it with a serviceable piano solo, and then this bass solo.
Questionable bass solo.
Alex, why does this bass solo suck so hard?
I don't really like it. I think for me, I tend to prefer bass solos that are more rhythmic, and this is trying to be like melodic, so it just ends up sounding like kind of mushy.
Right. And I like my bass solos to have a little bit more, like to be a little more bass heavy, I would say. This guy is playing melodic, he's playing quite lightly.
And yeah, pretty high up.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like, I don't know.
Yeah, I want to hear that real thrum on, especially on a stand-up bass. When you play in that low range, it can get pretty, like, truly ugly and gritty. That could have provided what we needed to counterpoint this softness. And then we come back to a soft version of the chorus. We get some little piano diddling after a big string section to take us out.
Yeah, there's some kind of cool like piano runs and stuff after that.
Yeah. Honestly, the outro, not bad.
Yeah, I think the song improves for the most part after they bring the strings in. I feel like it kind of adds a bit of gravitas.
Yeah, it definitely adds something to it.
But yeah, just I was not a fan of the solo section in this particular song. I don't think it added much.
Yeah, I think there's, and I say this about a lot of songs sometimes, there's a version of this that could work. This is not it.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of things that work on my dumb brain, the F-Ups in 2004.
The F-Ups. This is the punk rock version.
Yes. What a shot of life compared to what we just come from. So they're a punk rock band from Rochester, Minnesota. Founded in 1999, reunited in 2020. They broke up sometime in between. Known for their song Lazy Generation, which featured in NHL 2005 and Burnout 3 Takedown.
Yeah, they were active at the exact right time for this sort of music, because if you made this sort of music, it would probably end up in like an EA Sports title or a racing game.
And it, in fact, did both.
And it did both. Or I guess another sports title. Or, a Tony Hawk game.
Yeah, exactly. So it's pure pop punk. It's just driving rhythm right off the bat.
Fast. Very fast.
And they're doing the Mott the Hoople version, because we do get the speed jive.
That's true. They do say speed jive.
Mm-hmm.
What I think is a good idea, and probably the smartest thing they do, is slow it down significantly for the chorus.
Yes.
Which is a good move, because it lets you have that like really speedy pop punk energy most of the song, but also have the like anthem, wave your arms around, sing along, all the young dudes,
Yeah. And because, especially given that their verses are just driving, like there's not a lot of nuance to it. You need that break to give us some
True, yeah,
space.
just like fast drums and strumming.
And I would say accompanying that smart move is their really good use of backing vocals.
All the young dudes.
All the young dudes. And everybody comes in and they punch little lines on the verses with it. When you're 25.
Yeah, it's like, I believe it. I believe it is a pop punk song.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, and you give us this, your pop punk backing vocals. You're like not polished, but all together. Like it wouldn't occur to me listening to All the Young Dudes to make it pop punk or, glam metal, as the case may be in the future here. But it works pretty well for me. I think it fucking slaps.
Yeah, I mean, it's another, I don't want to say simple, but I guess they just took like a pretty straightforward approach to it, but adapted pretty well. And I still think, slowing it down in the chorus was a very good move.
Yeah. And they really emphasize like big beats in there. You hear the like hand claps and hear big drums. And then once they do the little ending solo riff, which is actually just the intro, that and take that back to the verse. And then we're back going fast again. It's good stuff, man. They do a big rock finish on this. You get a little guitar solo that gets isolated near the end of it.
There's like some time left, and they're doing the outro, and then just like big ending.
Yeah. So you want to talk about a song that sounds like this one doesn't sound like a live performance, but it sounds like it'd be good live.
Actually, I also wrote that. It'd be a lot of fun live. I think I might just like going to punk concerts. I don't know.
They're a lot of fun. But this one just it was good. It was good stuff. Anything else on this one? I mean, I think we've kind of wrapped it.
Yeah, like I said, pretty simple, so not a whole lot.
Let's talk about some modern glam metal with Wildstreet in 2009.
Yeah, let's. They seem to, they're like really this 80s arena rock style group.
Yeah.
I don't know if they play arenas though.
But they certainly play like they're going to.
They do. I mean, this honestly sounds like what if Def Leppard.
I was going to say Motley Crue, but
dudes.
definitely in the overlap there is Def Leppard, yeah.
Yeah. That's basically, I'm not like crazy into this style personally.
Sure. That's fair, but also, I mean, there's a precedent in like glam metal and heavy metal for these styles of songs. Do you know the song Youth Gone Wild by Skid Row?
I don't actually.
Oh my god. One, it's a great song. Two, it's the same vibe. This is the like, we're tough guys, we're real bad dudes version of All the Young Dudes.
Right.
It's very much a part of that glam metal mythos, and again, not a move I would have thought of ever listening to All the Young Dudes, but it's got some weight behind it.
Sure. Okay. I believe it. But like sonically, to me, it just sounds like, very like Def Leppard-y. Like you hear their snare and it's like massive. Like it takes like 3 seconds for the snare hit to happen. Like it's huge snare.
Yeah.
Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. I don't know if that's if you reverse it or what. I don't know, but it's a huge sound.
And there's so much emphasis on that. It's just like
like the whole time. Yeah.
It's you can picture everybody in their leather jackets, standing with their tight pants on, standing wide, and doing the over the head hand claps to this. Like
on the whole across the stage, definitely.
It is big dumb rock and roll.
A lot of leather, dark eye makeup.
Yeah, if you look at their website, they look like they're the guys doing this. Like, so you get like chugging guitar on this too, but like dun 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 dun.
Yeah, like it's all there.
It's all there.
It's all there. This is very glam metal.
Very glam metal. It really plays to that, like to a T.
Another thing they do, like the entire outro has like a guitar solo going for it. It's like the last minute of the song. It's just like guitar solo as they outro. So I guess that is perhaps what you meant with the clapping.
Oh yeah, well they are clapping there. So.
Oh. Yeah, but like the visual of the clapping.
Yeah, visual. Like I mean, and naturally you're gonna get people clapping along to that souped up snare like we talked about.
Yeah. How do you not?
How do you not? This is the song, if you're playing it live, everybody has to clap along the whole time. You get tired about a minute in, but people are still going. Yeah, Jesus.
But we have one more cover.
Yeah, we do. We have one more. Do you have anything to say about Wildstreet before we go on?
Oh, no, I don't have anything else.
Let's talk about Canadian sensation Men Without Hats in 2021.
Men Without Hats. Yes, Canadian.
Do you know these guys are Canadian?
Group. I think I did, but I forgot.
Came as a surprise to me.
Yeah, because I definitely would have looked them up when I was looking up the Safety Dance, which is their
They had,
song.
like one and only hit.
Their probably one-hit wonder song.
Yes, I think they might have another one, but the Safety Dance is what everybody. And I say everybody. The Greta doesn't know about it, but
Yeah, I only knew about it because of you, I think, because you sang it.
right, yeah, because I found it. Because who knows what
Yeah,
kind of
we
weird
can
shit I
dance
was
if we
getting into
want
back
to.
then. We can leave your friends behind. So yeah, he's got a voice that I think you would describe as idiosyncratic.
I would. I actually described it as kind of like the B-52s, but less extreme.
Shit. That's not quite idiosyncratic, is it?
It's somewhat idiosyncratic.
So they're
it's indicative, I'd say, of like their new wave roots because
Oh, yeah.
it's similar to that kind of a sound. They're going for that, just like I'm a little bit weird today, like sort of thing.
Yes. I would say that is fully correct, Alex. These guys are originally from Montreal, currently based in Vancouver. Mm-hmm. I could theoretically run into them on the streets, or possibly.
Yeah, maybe you already have.
Exactly.
You'd
You
only
never
know about them by their lack of hats. That said,
right.
if you look at their Wikipedia page,
Wearing hats.
picture wearing a hat.
That's how that's how they stay undercover.
So they blend in.
Man. Yeah.
Like, well, you're definitely not a member of Canadian new wave and synth pop band Men Without Hats.
And without hats.
And he's like, oh. Anyway,
So this is
he
like
is wearing a hat though.
I guess it's kind of more synth pop than it's synth pop and new wave.
I mean, yeah, definitely. It's like very synth driven.
Yes,
Perhaps obviously, but there's still a guitar playing the riff.
that's right.
But yeah, the really driving force behind this is like kind of some like spacey synth and then like a drum. I actually don't know if it's a drum machine,
It's got to be.
but probably because
it's a
like
two-man group.
very fast and
there's a
consistent.
very electronic feel in here.
Yeah. Okay.
So you get that drum machine doing the driving thing, and also a rhythm guitar, which may also be synthetic. Doing this dun, dun,
True.
dun, dun,
And
dun,
then-
and that runs throughout, and then it's kind of just layering on of different fun spacey synths. The main
Yeah,
one
it
being
does
this,
have a few
this
synths. Lots of
ripping
like
arpeggio.
arpeggios.
Yeah,
Like a fast one. There's a faster arpeggio on the version of the pre-chorus, and then there's more of like a string synth in the chorus, a little bit slower.
his vocals,
yeah,
like you said, B-52s, but less intense.
Yeah, a little bit less than not like but a little bit of that, you know.
Yeah, leaning more into the like more post-punk vibe. We talked about how new wave post-punk are connected. A little bit of that
Sure.
monotone post-punk vibe.
Juvenile delinquent rags.
But that said, he does like to get a little funny with some
oh.
lines. And he says funky in a funny way.
He does like you said, it is a lot of monotone, but then he'll like go like like or something.
Yeah, he throws on
Go,
little flares on certain phrases. Too many little snags.
Yeah, exactly. And it feels very like old school new wave. Mm-hmm. In just kind of like trying like very, I would say, transparent attempt to be a weirdo.
Yes.
Like
this
the-
one is also,
yeah.
I think, transparently nostalgic as well.
Yes, I guess throwbacks maybe just lend themselves to this song just because there is some nostalgia present.
And it is a song that I would genuinely believe Men Without Hats to be nostalgic about. Because it is such
Yeah.
a big song.
True. Yeah. From the past of all these artists, or most of them.
Which maybe I should give that credit to other bands we've talked about. But I'm not going back. I'm not talking about anything that happened in the past here, Alex. I'm moving
Nope.
forward.
We're not talking about the past. We're just talking about nostalgia.
Yes. I think they did the choruses very very anthemically. You get a big cymbal crash in there, it feels like an uplift.
Yeah, and having that synth too. I mean, when things slow down a bit, it kind of gets that feeling of being separate and important. Mm-hmm. It's like you got to pay attention to this.
Yeah, and they do some big, large synth noises on that sort of end of phrase climb up section. Dun, 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 dun. It's all very full on the chorus.
And then they do some weird stuff too.
Yeah,
But like actually weird stuff. I'm talking about the very end.
the very end. So yeah, we get the song essentially completes. He does a
Yeah,
bit
it
of the Mott the
fades out.
Hoople, "Hey dudes, where are you? Stand up, come on."
True. Yeah, he has
Fades
some
out.
of those ad-libby lines.
And then we get like a vocals and piano version put through like a tin can.
Yeah, it just sounds like a totally, like a completely different cover of the same song. He just like breaks into the first verse with just like piano chords. It's like a solo piano cover. But I rapped on that about his suicide. I would kick it in, and like dun 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 dun, like,
Yeah, your simple sort of plodding piano.
which is, I don't even know. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah, I wonder
amusing.
if that was his original take, or if
Yeah,
it's
maybe. That
again
was
just
like
your
a
new
demo.
wave little wink to, hey, I'm a little weirdo. Here's a little
Yeah.
extra weirdo version at the end.
Because that's definitely like, to me, that's like the most basic way to cover a song, basically.
Yeah.
Is like chords and singing, and you slow it down a bit because it's easier to play and sing at the same time when it's slower or whatever. Or it sounds more convincing as like a slow, sad song if it's just solo piano. So I don't know if it's like a joke, a take on that kind of thing, like throw that in at the end.
Yeah, and it
Or
kind of
it's a
threw
nod to
off-
like the tragedy of the song because it is a little
it
more
is a
like
little
your
dark
slow
and
sad thing.
And this version is just like nonstop driving rhythm energy.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know.
It really threw off my read of the rest of the song. As I was like before, I was like, okay, pretty straightforward. Like it's a little bit like EDM synth pop. You get some beats going in there. You do the song. You got a little bit of your weirdo voice. I'm like, not bad. It's what I would expect from the Men Without Hats in 2021. Actually, probably a little better than I'd expect, honestly. But then you throw that in at the end, and I'm like, what? What's happening? Is this a riddle? Like,
Yeah, like I mean, first time I listened to it, I thought it was like, oh, this is the next version, and then just
Right.
ended and looped the playlist. So,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
yeah, very odd. It's an odd end. It's an odd take.
Not sure what to make of it.
But I do know that we need to make it to our final verdicts here, Alex.
We do.
3 categories today: the worst version, the best version, and the version for the young dudes of today.
Okay. The young dudes of
Alex, what's the worst? Why is it fake, Cullen? Let's move this along.
Yeah, it's fake Cullen. I still wasn't super wild about Wildstreet, but it doesn't come anywhere close to fake Cullen.
Yeah, I mean, say what you will, the Wildstreet version has a communal spirit. It demands hand claps, and that's enough for me.
Yeah, and you clap, and like fake Cullen, this song could be jazz.
It could be jazz.
I just think that it's not a great jazz version. You know, I didn't really like where they took the solos.
I also hate to
really
give
like-
it to the only version with a woman singing, but like,
I mean, it's just not great,
it's not great.
or at least not for me.
Not for me. And you know, we are very typically, we're not anti-jazz on here, but it doesn't move the meter for as much. So
True. Yeah, that's not really our wheelhouse.
So it's not a shocking take. I'm sorry to Fake Cullen. Maybe you got something good. Check out Fake Cullen's 2 albums from 2008. Maybe skip over this single of All the Young Dudes. Alex, what's the best version?
I mean, do we count David Bowie's version as a cover?
I mean, it is a cover. It's a cover version. I'm going to exclude it from my take because it's obviously the best version
I
for
feel
me.
like it's a cheat. Like I would give it to that.
But I think for me, it then comes down to 2 versions. 2 versions.
Well, I know you
either-
like the F-ups.
I do like the F-ups. I actually really like Jimmy Barnes' take.
I kind of did too. I think I would give it to Jimmy Barnes. No, you know what? I would give it to Men Without Hats.
Hey, there you go.
I almost gave it to Jimmy Barnes though. It's a lot more hectic and energetic, and I don't know if it totally fits with the mood of the song, but it feels. I like the synthesizers, and it's Canadian content. Damn it!
That's right. Got to give it up to that CanCon. If I understood it better, if it's Jimmy Barnes, I see it, I grasp it, I understand it, I know what it is, and I like it, and that's why I'm giving it the best. But like, Men Without Hats is compelling. It's a little weird puzzle now that I have to look at and go, what were they doing there? Will I ever know? It's going to keep me up at night. I'm going to wake up sometimes and be like, what the fuck was going on with that ending though? But not my best version today. I like that you took it, Alex. Alex, the youth of today.
The Youth of Today. Did you say which one did you say was your best version? Sorry.
Jimmy Barnes.
Okay. All right. The Youth of Today. What are the Youth of Today into? Is pop punk coming back?
I would say pop punk is eternal, if you're asking me, and by its very nature, it is always for the youth, and that's why I'm picking the F-ups.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. Because, I don't know. I mean, I don't think the youth would be that much into the Jimmy Barnes version. Not in that form, anyway. Maybe with some minor alterations. And I don't know who Faye Cullen version's for. And Wildstreet is too much of like a very specific throwback.
Yes,
I don't think that works.
That's for your dad.
And also Men Without Hats is a very specific throwback, so I don't think that works either. I think it's got to be the F-Ups.
I think it's got to be the F-Ups.
I don't totally know if pop punk does it for the youth of today, but I think it does. I think, like I said, I think it's coming back in a big-ish way.
Yeah, I think so. I think pop punk is here to stay. It's the good stuff. That's our final verdicts. You got a different opinion, similar opinion, want to talk to us about a version we didn't talk about, of which there are many, hit us up on Twitter, #CoverMePod, @JakeTheCressy, @SomeAlexWiseGuy. Send us your comments, questions, concerns. You can also email us at covermepod@gmail.com. Same stuff there. Rate and review us. We're on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, your favorite podcasting app. Tell your friends about us. We don't have a marketing budget. That is the end of the first episode of the second season of Bowie Me. And as we always say on Bowie Me, oh man, I need TV when I've got Cover Me.